For decades, economists clung to the idea of the rational economic man. This hypothetical being made decisions based purely on logic, maximizing their gains and minimizing their losses. But are we truly so rational? Prospect theory, developed by Amos Tversky and myself, challenges this assumption. It argues that our decisions are influenced not just by cold, hard calculations, but also by our emotions and how we perceive risk and probability. Prospect theory, at its core, proposes that we don't evaluate outcomes based solely on their objective value. Instead, we frame them in terms of gains and losses relative to a reference point, often our current situation. This simple shift in perspective has profound implications for understanding why we make seemingly irrational financial decisions. Prospect theory provides a framework for understanding the systematic biases that color our judgment. These biases, often unconscious, lead us to make decisions that deviate from the predictions of traditional economic models. By acknowledging these inherent tendencies, we can gain valuable insights into our own behavior and make more informed financial choices. Central to prospect theory is the concept of the value function. This function describes how we perceive gains and losses, and it differs significantly from the straightforward utility function of traditional economics. The value function is characterized by three key features: reference points, loss aversion, and diminishing sensitivity. Our reference point acts as a mental anchor. It's the starting point from which we evaluate gains and losses. Imagine you bought a stock at $50 per share. This becomes your reference point. If the stock rises to $60, you experience a gain. If it falls to $40, you experience a loss. This simple example illustrates how our perception of value is relative, not absolute. A $10 gain doesn't feel as good as a $10 loss feels bad. This leads us to the next crucial element, loss aversion. Loss aversion. Arguably the most impactful element of prospect theory, posits that the pain of a loss outweighs the pleasure of an equivalent gain. Studies suggest that losses can be twice as psychologically powerful as gains. This means that losing $100 feels much worse than gaining $100 feels good. This inherent aversion to losses has significant implications for our behavior. We become more risk-averse when facing potential losses, even if the potential gains are objectively larger. This explains why many people are reluctant to invest in the stock market, fearing the possibility of losing money, even if the potential returns are attractive. Loss aversion is deeply ingrained in our psychology, likely stemming from our evolutionary past, where avoiding losses was crucial for survival. Understanding this bias is essential for making rational financial decisions and mitigating the impact of our emotional responses. The third key feature of the value function is diminishing sensitivity. This means that the impact of each additional unit of gain or loss diminishes as we move further away from the reference point. Think about winning $100 versus $200. The difference in happiness between winning $100 and $200 is much greater than the difference between winning $1,100 and $1,200. This principle applies to losses as well. The difference in disappointment between losing $100 and $200 is much larger than the difference between losing $1,100 and $1,200. This diminishing sensitivity leads to risk-averse behavior in the domain of gains and risk-seeking behavior in the domain of losses, as we will explore further in the following sections.